Hey there, I'm Melanie and I'm your design journey art class expert for watercolor pencils and colored pencils. In this session, I'm going to show you how to paint a squirrel illustration using watercolor pencils. For this squirrel painting, you will need watercolor pencils. I'm using the Staedtler 24 pack of watercolor pencils. You're also going to need watercolor paper. You're going to need a tissue just in case any mistakes happen or we have to lift the paint a little bit. And we're also going to need brushes. I love the Staedtler synthetic brushes from the brush set. I especially love the size 8 round brush. You're also going to need a cup of water, obviously. And just in case you need it, you'll also need an eraser. For our little squirrel, I'm picking this reddish brown tone. It's like a red brown. And I'm just going to start off with the very basic shapes of it and just making sure I have the head and the body part. Very, very basic shapes. I'm very lightly sketching all of that. And also the tail. Maybe the body's just a little bigger. And the tail is going here. I'm being very rough. And now I'm going over those lines again and again and defining more where everything goes. We have this little, the hands here, and another one. And I'm making it slowly more and more detailed. And going over it more and more just to define my little squirrel even more. I'm also starting to define the shadow areas, so there are certain areas that are going to be darker, and here I'm starting to define those a little bit more. And I'm also starting to go in the direction of the fur. So I'm moving my watercolor pencil in the direction that the fur is going to be. And then I'm gonna pick the darker brown tone and just make the shadow parts even darker. But I'm not pressing down too hard now. The belly is gonna stay a very light color, so I'm kind of moving around that. I'm also giving the face some more definition by adding darker areas. And make sure to leave the parts around the eye lighter because there the fur is a little bit lighter. Adding in a little bit more of the red brown tone. And then we're almost ready to blend everything for the first time. Behind there is the second hand. It's a little bit darker, and here it is a little bit lighter so we can see where the hand starts and where the neck ends. So now that we have the basic shapes of our little squirrel, I'm going to blend all of that. You can see that the brown color is very red and it's perfect for a little squirrel. It's just the perfect shade for it. Now I'm done blending the entire squirrel, and I'm gonna pick some colors because I want to have some doodles around the squirrel. And I think I'm gonna go with the lightest green tone as well as the blue and this green tone. Those are going to be the colors for the background. So I'm actually turning this around now just because I don't want to put my hands into the wet areas and smudge everything. I'm just gonna color all of this, and I'm just gonna doodle some branches around this here. Those are very simple leaf shapes. Now I'm gonna use the light blue tone, and I'm just gonna make a few circles just to fill the background a little bit. Now that I'm done doodling all these shapes around our squirrel, I will make sure that the edges of the squirrel are dry, and I'm gonna blend all of this now. So now that all of this is blended, I'm going to add more details to our little squirrel here. I'm now going over everything again with the darker brown tone and just darkening up all the areas that are supposed to be a little bit darker than they are now. I'm also starting to add in little details, and I'm being very careful with my colored pencil so that I'm making the lines very considerate, because I'm not going to blend those lines. Those are now the little details that we're going to add. I'm just always going in the direction that the fur is growing. Adding in some little lines all over the place to make it look a little bit more furry. Also adding in a few more details with our lighter brown pencil. And now I'm gonna do this on the entire body and just add in lines wherever they are needed, which is almost everywhere, and very lightly adding those in. So now I'm done adding in all of those lines, and I think that it looks so much cuter already. You can clearly see where the fur is, and I'm just gonna use a black colored pencil now just to darken up the eyes, because they're super dark, obviously, black eyes. And I'm also darkening up the nose still a little bit, and the ears here just a little bit, and darkening up this shadow area of the tail. And then our squirrel is almost finished. I'm just gonna very lightly add a little bit of fur here as well, because it's not completely white. It's just a little bit lighter than the area around it. Now I'm going to use a dark blue tone, and I'm going to outline our little branches just like that. And I'm going to add a few details. I'm just gonna add some veins to them to make them look more interesting and to make everything look a little bit more finished. Now that I'm done with that, I think that I'm also gonna add a little bit of an outline to our bubbles, just to make everything go together a little bit more nicely. I'm also gonna add just a few more circles with this darker tone. So now I'm really happy with this, and I'm finished with our little squirrel. This is honestly the third time that I've painted this particular squirrel, so don't worry about it if it doesn't look perfect right away. You might need a little bit of practice. I've seen that it got better every time that I've painted this squirrel, and you should have seen the first result. It wasn't nearly as good. So just keep going, keep practicing, and don't let that defeat you. In this session, I used a lot of the brown tones in the 24 watercolor pencil set by Staedtler, and I especially love this red brown tone. It's perfect for a squirrel. I can also imagine that it would be super cool for a fox or other animals like that. So this is ideal for this particular piece. I also love that the watercolor pencils are so versatile. You can see that they're super smooth and blended, and we also have the texture that you can get with colored pencils. And I really love to use the watercolor pencils both ways, and we have the same colors because we use the same medium, and I really love to use them like that. Now you've got all the instructions to get started with your own little squirrel. We'd love to see your results, so share them on Instagram using the hashtag #MyDesignJourney. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this Design Journey art class.